to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the village board meeting of April 25th. Roll call. Capuros. Possession.
Here.
Giannotti.
Here.
Terry.
Here.
Stacy.
Here.
Kraus.
Here.
Before we continue with the rest of the meeting, we have a special guest in the audience, and I would like if our Chief of Police, Terry Leonard, would give an introduction and background.
I'll be glad to. So, President Meyer and members of the village board, good evening. It's my pleasure to introduce State Attorney Jim Glasgow. So, I've worked very closely with Jim in the past on a number of different things, but I think Will County is a very safe place for our residents, anyone to live, because of Jim's work. You know, I worked in Cook County a lot of my career, I worked in Will County, and sometimes when we would arrest people here in Will County, we take them to the Will County Adult Detention Facility. But before we did, they would say, I'm gonna get out, ain't I? And I said, no, you're not gonna get out. He goes, but it's only been my third or fourth death or something. I'm saying, do you know that you're in Will County? No, we're going to jail. So that's because of the way Jim prosecutes things. But I had the great pleasure of working with Jim through the Safety Act. The Safety Act was, as you know, enacted at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning with 1 hour of review by our state legislature. And it really hurt law enforcement, but more importantly, it hurt the residents of Will County. And myself, Jim, and other law enforcement and prosecutors worked together. We did get a couple trailer bills passed, but I will tell you that Jim has a big voice in state government, and because of his input, we did get them trailer bills passed, and it makes it a little easier to work with the law from a law enforcement perspective. There's still some work to do, but we're working on it right now. I think Jim is here today not really to talk about some of the things I just talked about, but to talk about the flock cameras. So I'd like to introduce Jim to say a few words.
Thanks, Terry. I worked with Terry when he was with the state police and then with Lockport, and he's a legend as far as the state police goes. I think, did you set the record for some of the endurance and other tests that they had down there?
Well, who told you that?
You did. Terry's already been out front on a lot of stuff. The safe haven things that he tried to work out for some of the people with drug addiction problems really helped a lot of people. But he's always been a forward thinker. I thought he was going to retire to Tennessee, but he said Beecher looks nicer, so over here. The flock cameras. I just recently took a case to the grand jury, a carjacking that occurred on Diversity Parkway in Chicago. And the individuals in the Will County Jail had a $1 million bond, facing about 10 Class X felonies. The way it happened was the idiot fled down to Will County, but the thing started with a flock camera on I-294, and then the chase was on. And so under the law, until you are safely away from your crime, it's not over yet. So we put out the tack strips in Shorewood, flattened all his tires, and he jumped out of the car, and the bite dog got him, then he punched the bite dog, and I charged him with that too. So, but the point is, he would be out on the street carjacking again. He would never spend probably a day in jail up there. And there's a new thing called the Safety Act, which we fought tooth and nail, but it got passed. And we literally have to get people in Springfield that will repeal it, because there's no way to fix it. It's so bad. And what we weren't thinking about when we were arguing against it is, it basically ends all cash bail in Illinois. I have 48 murderers in the Will County Jail right now on bond that they can't make. I've got another 100 plus Class X felons. These are mandatory violent felonies that require at least 6 years in prison, who will be applying to get out. Then there's DuPage County, Lake County, Kane County. They all have this similar demographics. You ever see the movie The Purge? I didn't see it, but it's about lawlessness. I mean, literally, we're looking at Armageddon, and I don't mean to be alarming, because this is something we must stop. So there's a veto session, that'll happen after the election, but there's an election coming too, that we've got to get people in Springfield that will repeal that bill. And this isn't a partisan message, this is save our families. It's that bad. I've been doing this for 40 years, like Terry, probably about the same. We've never seen anything like this. So we can only hold an individual for 90 days, no matter what crime they've committed. So that is complete insanity. It's hard to believe that it passed, but Madigan allowed what was called a lame duck session, where it's a very short session, and these bills were dropped on them. The safety bill is like 600 pages long. I mean, and if you're a layperson in this, you have no idea what you're reading. You wouldn't know if it's good or bad. And there's 294 statutes, different statutes were amended in that bill. I was trying to go through it, and even today, Terry, we couldn't find the final. There is no way to print off the entire bill in its final form. You have to go to each of the 294 sections because of the trailer bills that we did. Now, you wouldn't think government would be that way. I'm sure you guys are much better with the local constituents. And by the way, Buddies is awesome. If I've got any hot fudge on my mustache, I apologize. That place looks like it'd be kicking in the summertime, so we'll have to come back. But again, these two cameras that we're providing you, that's just one example of many. I think we've got about 6 murder cases we solved in Joliet with the flock cameras, and would have not had any leads at all without them. I can't go to the facts of any of them because any one of you might be on one of our juries, but it's truly amazing. And the information is purged every 30 days, so it's not like Big Brother. We're not keeping track of anybody, you know. And so it's funny, at the county board, we've got 3 left-wingers and 3 right-wingers who don't want the cameras. And so I gotta sit down with them and say, look, this isn't Big Brother, nobody's tracking you, nobody's following you, this is for the public good. And again, we do purge the information every 30 days. So, and then we only look at it when there's a crime that's reported. And if a stolen car comes into Will County from Cook County, immediate hit with the flock camera notifies every police department in the county that it's here, and then we can watch it from flock camera to flock camera. And usually if it's a stolen car coming from Cook, they're coming to carjack. And so we've had a few of those incidents, and every one of them is in the Will County Jail. So our law enforcement here locally has been phenomenal, and guess what? They're not coming anymore. And that's why that legislation I talked to you about, we have to repeal it, because if that happens, I won't be able to protect anyone in Will County anymore. All the tools that I have at my disposal now will be taken away. And that's a moral outrage. And so, and I don't mean to be doom and gloom, because I'm very optimistic that we'll be able to stop it now. There's one candidate for governor who made the comment, all lives matter, and they damn well do. Okay, there's no more of this, you can't say that, or you can't say this. We've got to tell it like it is, and make sure we do what's right, and protect all the law-abiding citizens in this county. And these cameras will help you here. You know, if you can find a merchant or two that wants to come on board, I'll come back and we'll match it. And I think if you get, I'm trying to remember, there's somebody, who was it? Somebody just reported, they just got our cameras and then they caught somebody. I can't remember who it was, but they're very effective. And then once you get on the network, Terry, you'll be able to watch all the cameras throughout Will County, so you'll know if something's coming this way. And it's one level of high tech that is a real plus. So, anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Did I ask you about a dog?
You did.
Okay.
We're thinking about a comfort chihuahua.
All right. Well, I got a 7-year-old chihuahua that I rescued. He spent 7 years in a breeder's cage, and he was all withdrawn and everything. And now he thinks he's a Great Dane, and it's hilarious. A headstrong little guy. But no, seriously, if you ever get to a point where you would like to get even a comfort dog, but usually what we've been doing is providing the drug dogs and the tracking dogs for your police department, and I'll provide the dog, the training for the officer, and the capsule for the car. So if you something to consider. Obviously, there's some expense on your end, because then you have a canine officer, and, you know, that's something that Terry has to decide what's best. But they are phenomenal, and one thing they do is they change the public's impression of your police department. You get that dog out to all the local events and everything, and then people start identifying the police department with the dog, and everybody loves the dog. So Little Rockdale has 3,000 people, and the chief there retired from a bigger department, and he said, geez, it's like Sleepy Hollow here until we got the dog. Then everybody's stopping by to see the dog. He said, big departments are calling me, hey, can you back us up on this? And it felt like a policeman again, so. So anyway, that's it. I don't think there's anything else.
We wonder if we can get a picture with you and the mayor.
Sure.
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 And Aaron, you can-
Just roll these out.
Yeah. They're all approved. Got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
We're in two motions.
Chief, you wanna get
Can I
out?
get you one with Aaron in it?
Hold it.
Oh, sorry.
We all have different reasons we need pictures. Different media outlets. I'm sorry, I'm in the way of the TV.
You.
Thank you, sure. Yeah, I'll return pictures. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your help.
One more quick one, real quick, that we can get it with them. No, you guys, good law enforcement,
Both of you,
everybody
yeah.
all one. Thank you. Mayor, get in.
Oh, what a great picture.
Great. Thank you.
Now the promotion picture.
And,
Come on, just so you and
Before I forget, I want to thank you for your donations to the Child Ad Center. The chief, we ask every department or every municipality to kick in 25% of our costs for a 3-year period. Fortunately, you only had 5 people come to our center, so it was a small contribution, but the fact that you did it is important. I mean, the city of Joliet had 600 kids come to our center in the last 3 years, and they don't give us anything. So we gotta try and get that going.
Lockport did too.
Yeah, Lockport did also. So the smaller departments are helping us, and Will County's our second largest, but we're funded together, so we don't ask them for any money. But have you ever been to the Child Ad Center in Joliet? You should come out sometime. It's pretty phenomenal. We had, I think, about 650 kids go through there this year, which is really terrible from the standpoint of, we've got some serious issues in our community. But without that, and the counseling that they provide, which is where we really focus all of our funding, is on our counselors. Because a child who's been sexually abused is, emotionally and psychologically scarred. If you leave it untreated, it can destroy the child or create someone who might offend themselves. So the intervention has been really dramatic, and I think we have about $1 million in grant money that goes to provide for the family and trauma counseling. And I don't think there's another center in the state that does it as well, so.
They do great work. Great work.
All right.
Let's get one more without the eye candy. Go ahead.
You have to go too close to the flags.
Did you see any confused looks, chief, when you said that?
Aaron is our new sergeant, just promoted to sergeant.
Congratulations. Thanks, sir. All right.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
What's it?
I'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
That threshold is tough sometimes. We're getting good at this.
minutes of the last meeting. Does anyone have any changes, additions? If not, can we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
There's a motion on the floor, sir.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call. Possession?
Yes.
Giannetti?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Stacy? Stacy?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes.
No village clerk report. And does anyone in the audience wish to address the board? Okay, under my report, we already did the first item. We do have a proclamation. It is Will County Clerks Week is May 1st through 7th, and we'd like to recognize Jeanette Connor, our Beecher Village Clerk. So I have a proclamation for 53rd Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, May 1st through 7th, 2022. Whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants. And whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas, I'm going to start stumbling over this, the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk. Now therefore, I, Marcy Meyer, Village President of the Village of Beecher, do recognize the week of May 1st through May 7th as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend deepest appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Jeanette Connor, and to all professional clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent.
Thank you.
We had a Zoom meeting this week with Chicago Southland Convention and Visitors Bureau to discuss opportunities for Beecher and actually for the entire area. And we periodically meet with them, although it's been a long time. They kind of wanted to touch base with us to see what's going on here, if there's things they can include in their agendas. They have a print kind of agenda that they send out that they have available in all like rest stops in the state. And they also have, if it doesn't make the print version, they also have it listed on their website. So they were asking if there's anything that wasn't included. They of course have 4th of July already. They had our concert series, they got that information. But we had ideas, Bob actually suggested, they were not aware of the World War II Museum at Holt Field at South Suburban Airport. So they were sending a representative out there immediately to take a look at that and maybe include it in some of the tours of people that come out this way. They said that the up-and-coming thing, particularly through COVID and now, is they do bus tours, charters of people that are interested in education. They like to tour factories, they like to look at unusual things, and they says factory tours are a huge thing. So we gave them the information for Artie Van Buren for Dutch American Foods. They thought that was a really interesting one. They have one tour they're working on, and they're thinking of having it, it's going to go through the western end of Will County, but they're thinking of having it stop here at the end and possibly have dinner at the Princess. So they're looking at some things that they'd like to include for us in the area. So we came up with as many ideas as we could. We reminded them of the Depot Museum, and I've still got to get them pictures. We have train watchers that would come out here, and I guess the way the curve comes, like from the south coming through town, there's a specific curve that comes through with our tracks, that people come here once a year, these train watchers, and they take pictures of the way the trains come around that curve. So I told them I'd find the YouTube video. They were posting those a few years ago. This is a big thing. They go on these train tours. So we gave them all the information we could. Did I leave anything out?
That's pretty accurate.
But it was a good meeting. They were actually excited about having some things that had come up that they did not expect. So, Finance and Administration Committee, Trustee Session.
Thank you very much.
So first off, we have the public hearing for the proposed budget for the fiscal year 2022 to 2023. Motion is needed to open and close the public hearing. After the hearing is open, the administrator will make his annual budget speech, followed by questions and comments from the public or the board. So I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, roll call.
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Giannotti,
Yes.
Possession.
Yes.
I know that all of you have been through this before, so don't fall asleep. This is for the public's benefit, really, an explanation of the budget. The budget process actually begins in August, when we start completing our 5-year financial plan. Our financial plan is usually approved in the December board meeting, and that financial plan then becomes the foundation from which we start beginning the budget. Department heads submit their requests in January. Then I make final revenue projections. And then the first draft of the budget comes out in early February and is shared with all of the committees. A second draft of the budget, after the committees meet, is then given to the Finance Committee in mid-February. This year, the Finance Committee held a 6-hour workshop on Saturday, February 26th, to review the entire budget, make changes, and then recommend a third draft to the village board. The village board then reviewed the budget line by line on Monday, March 28th, out at the Public Works Garage. Final amendments were then made from that meeting. Then the budget goes into a fourth draft for public hearing, which is where we are tonight. The budget can still be amended, tabled, or approved as a result of tonight's hearing. This budget and the message has been on the village's website since April 20th, and due notice has been published of this hearing. The village did increase the police protection property tax levy by 2% this year, which generated $12,510. This is used to help pay for the increased personnel costs of the 9 full-time officers we have, 4 part-time officers, and 1 civilian employee. No new sources of revenue for the general fund, but several general fund line items have been growing, including the sales tax, use tax, video gaming tax, and cable franchise fees. Some revenues that have seen a decline include the largest decline being the telecommunications tax, as people move to a wireless format from landline phones. Pay for full-time employees are governed by 3 collective bargaining agreements that are in place, one of which is expiring this year, and we'll be considering that later tonight. Increases for department heads range in the area of 2 to 3%. PPO health insurance rates increased 6.7%. IMRF pension employer contribution rates have actually dropped from 8.16% last year to 4.57% this year. The village is currently 99% funded in its pension system, and investments are performing to current market standards. However, currently the market's dictating that our IMRF employer rate will probably go up for 2023. We have good news about our 2020 census population. We gained 354 new residents since 2010, but stayed below that magic 5,000 population base for mandatory participation in downstate pension. This means that we gained about $44,450 in annual revenue from the state, based on $125 per capita, but we do not accrue a massive $400,000 pension liability for at least the next 10 years. The state also raised our income tax receipts slightly this year, increasing our percentage from 6.06 to 6.16%, which will add about another $10,000 per year to our general fund revenue. These are some of the items and programs and projects we're planning for this year. The Village Hall is going to be getting a new high-volume copier for $8,900, and then our current copier will go to Police Administration, and the Police Administration copier goes down to Patrol Division. So as you can see, the life of our copy machines lasts quite a long time. The flock license plate reader system, which you heard about tonight from the state's attorney, is going to be fully operational this year, and the first payment will be due of $27,500. A total of about $30,000 is budgeted in technology upgrades village-wide, which will occur in the police station and at the Village Hall, as we harden our system against cyber attacks to reduce our vulnerabilities and maintain our insurance levels that we have to maintain. We are moving toward asking the voters for approval of a general obligation bond issue in November of this year for a new police station. This new police station will be located on Church Road just east of Dixie Highway. Since we do not know how much to ask for yet, and the voters have a right to know what we are going to build, the site plan and architectural renderings will have to be completed this summer. We have budgeted a total of $135,000 for this purpose, using $25,000 in operating revenues and $110,000 in general fund reserves. Much of this funding can be recaptured with the bonds, but these decisions will be made later on this fiscal year. A new method of financing the replacement of police patrol vehicles is being implemented with this new budget as recommended by our finance committee. $80,000 in operating revenue and $50,000 in cash reserves will be placed into a new account called the Police Capital Equipment Sinking Fund. 2 vehicles totaling $80,000 will be purchased this fiscal year from that fund, and the remaining funds will be used to fund the gap for new vehicle purchases moving forward. Then each year, the police department will be required to take 1.13 cars' value from its operating budget and place this funding into the account. This will allow for the purchase of 1 new car every year and 2 cars every 3rd year. This will avoid budget cuts of capital equipment in the future, which leads to larger expenses down the road, or the lease purchasing of vehicles where interest rate is paid to a third-party vendor. In the street department, the decision was also made to move the purchase of mowing equipment into the Public Works Capital Equipment Sinking Fund. And now this will require an annual payment from the street department into that fund to pay for the replacement of lawnmowers. Vehicle maintenance was increased by $10,000 in Public Works due to the age and size of our large truck fleet, which we use primarily for snow removal. We are also going to purchase a lift for these vehicles, for the smaller vehicles, so we can do maintenance on the equipment in-house, and we are replacing a utility body on one of the trucks. $15,000 is allocated for our summer concert in the park series. The village will be using $300,000 of the $604,000 in ARPA, or COVID relief funds, for people that don't know what these acronyms mean. This is the federal COVID relief money. $70,000 is going to be used to put into the general fund to cover the loss of video gaming revenue that we had in fiscal year 2021. And then this money is going to be used to fund a new sign, a new LED sign in front of the village hall. The remaining $230,000 from the first entrenchment will be used as the village's share toward the Gould Street water main replacement project. The Penfield Street rehab project will begin this year. Bid opening is scheduled for June 17th. I have not heard if that date has yet changed, but we'll get into that a little later tonight. Another little problem has popped up. This $5 million project, however, will require $1 million in local matching funds. The village board has already approved a financing plan using existing motor fuel tax reserves and a loan from a portion of future MFT revenues. So this project is ready to go. The infrastructure account is budgeted to provide $100,000 in street repairs, $25,000 for sidewalk replacement, $25,000 for curb replacement, and $5,000 for lifting sidewalks that have sunk below American with Disabilities Act compliance standards. The village board has also applied for a $1.3 million grant to completely rehab Gould Street and make public improvements to the old downtown area. This grant requires a 20% local match, and infrastructure funds are available for this purpose. If this grant is not received, the village then intends to use $300,000 toward resurfacing residential streets, including Gould Street in 2023. If the grant is obtained, the village could elect to reimburse this account with TIF funds down the road and then use the $300,000 to resurface local streets. In addition to replacing the water mains on Gould Street, the village is set up to replace mains on Dixie Highway and on Miller Street west of Dixie using federal infrastructure funds. These projects are shovel-ready, and the construction observation fees have been budgeted as required. But we have not received any guidance yet from the federal government as to how these funds are going to affect the state of Illinois and the municipalities. We are assuming that those monies will be coming through the IEPA. The lead line service replacement program will also be closed out this coming fiscal year. This projected $4 million project will actually be completed for about $2.7 million in grant funds from the EPA and the village will be receiving its certificate of non-lead distribution later this summer. We will be one of the first public water supplies in the state of Illinois to receive such a distinction. Other improvements to the water system this year include a generator for well 3 and our annual valve turning program. We turn approximately 1/3 of the valves in the system every year. Approximately 80 meters will also be replaced in the system, after replacing about 270 meters last year with the lead line replacement program. We are seeing higher maintenance costs at the sewer plant, as our inventory of supplies provided at startup are now dwindled, and our warranties on the equipment are expired. The O&M costs at the plant will increase by about $100,000 this year, and includes $33,000 for chemicals, $10,000 for lab equipment, and $18,000 for high-end lubricants. We are also going to upgrade our capability to use the lift stations during power failures this year by purchasing a new portable generator to replace the aging 1995 unit we currently have. There is a combined water and sewer rate increase of 50 cents per 1,000 gallons, which have gone into effect March 1st. This is an annual rate increase. This rate increase pays for the increased cost of operating, like pumping water, chemical injection, and overall maintenance of the water and sewer systems. This will cost the average water customer $7 per billing on an average of 14,000 gallon water bill, or $42 per year. The property tax levy of 2% was offset by a 6.17% increase in the assessed value of property in the village. This means that a home with a market value of $235,000 would pay actually $20.71 less in 2022 than the property owner did in 2021 to the village. This is assuming all of the things remain equal, such as the assessed value of the home. There will also be a 75 cent per month increase in refuse collection rates, effective July 1, 2022, which brings the annual rate increase for the cost of refuse collection to $9 per month. Therefore, a typical single-family home valued at $235,000, using 14,000 gallons of water per billing, will pay on average $30.29 more to the village of Beecher in fiscal year 22-23 than that home did in fiscal year 21-22. A minimum residential water user will see an overall increase of $12.29 over the next year. This year's budget is balanced, and no reserves are used to fund any of our operations. This is the proposed budget for fiscal year 22-23, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Bob. I want to first extend my gratitude to you for reading all of that, so that I don't have to provide you with that level of information. I would hit a bigger water. So, any questions or comments? From the public either? Seems like the answer is no. So I will make a motion to close the public hearing.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second? There's a motion and a second, roll call.
Possession,
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Next up, consider a resolution adopting a budget for fiscal year 2022-2023.
And that's resolution number 2022-04.
All right, so I would, I guess, make a motion to accept the resolution, adopting a resolution 2022-04, adopting a budget for the fiscal year 2022-2023.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion, roll call.
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Possession.
Yes. Next up, consider an ordinance of appropriation for fiscal year 2022-2023. This is the actual legal authorization needed to spend money. We use the same numbers as our budget for this ordinance, which requires a supplemental appropriation ordinance if we decide to overspend. This adds one more layer of review and consideration if we deliberately go over budget. So, ordinance
That's ordinance number 1371.
1371, so I will make a motion to accept ordinance 1371 as of appropriation for fiscal year 2022-2023.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion? Roll call?
Musician,
Yes?
Gennady,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
Thank you. And next up, keep going, consider resolution of appropriation for the use of motor fuel tax funds for fiscal year 2022-2023. This is the IDOT resolution required to spend motor fuel tax funds and reflects our proposed budget. So, an ordinance number, please, or resolution, I mean?
2022-05.
2022-05, thank you. So I will make a motion accepting resolution 2022-05 of appropriation for the use of motor fuel tax funds for fiscal year 2022-2023.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion? Roll call?
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Gennady,
Yes.
Musician.
Yes. And finally, variance reports of the month of March are enclosed for your review. And that concludes this report.
Public Buildings and Properties, Parks and Recreation Committee Trustee Giannotti.
Okay.
Got lost there for a second.
Not as interesting as trustee possessions, but. 4th of July Commission discusses the need for more lighting in the park. Before the paths are resurfaced, the commission discussed and approved trenching the 2 electric lines, the underground electric for the 2 lights near the picnic grove area to avoid damaging the new paths. The superintendent was considering hanging lights on the building in the park as an alternative option. We'll discuss, I guess we could discuss this at this point. So last week, Thursday?
Yeah.
They trenched the new lines underneath the path. So the underground conduit is in place for future. And that was done so that everything can settle out in the next few months here. And that way when we go to pave the new path, there's no settling and cracking early in the life of the path. So a little bit bigger sections was taken out so that the crumbling areas near where they trenched will be filled in with cold patch. So during the summer events down in the park, including the concerts and the 4th of July festival, that people will have a nice path to walk on. So
It appears at this time also that the asphalt work in the park won't take place until probably October.
October.
Yeah, they're going by month-to-month bid process for the asphalt plants. So we'll have to wait until we get closer. The 22.5 that we had budgeted for the park is actually gonna change, so we do have some wiggle room in there. With the additional 8,000 budgeted for seal coating, we may have to dip into that a little bit in order to get the actual paths repaved. But with all the concert series and 4th of July and Beecher Rec and everything, it was getting too hard, and the weather now especially is getting way too hard to try to push the project, to take place right now like I wanted to. We'll probably go back out to bid fully in around August or September for that project.
Have you guys looked at lights anywhere else in the park? I mean, you're putting lights there to light the paths so people go off between basically the venues and the parking lot, correct?
yes,
I mean, there's no lights going the other way. If, let's say we have good concert series and people have to park on Miller's side and they're
Yes.
walking down the path. But is there anything over there at all
the
besides the
purpose-
ball fields?
the purpose of these was actually just for the sole purpose of going under the existing path. That part of the path isn't being disturbed, so that's why we haven't discussed that yet in detail, but
But the lights are there. The lights are going in to light the path that runs basically behind field 1
yes,
into the parking lot.
yes,
Because there's lights on the ball field, but all the other lights are towards like the beer stand and the rest of the park, correct?
yes. The lights towards Miller Street, there's what, 1, 2 going towards Miller right now?
There's only one, but it's in a very odd location.
Yes.
That we can't do anything with at this point, but
Yeah.
in the future, we definitely, Bob, maybe you can help us on this. There
When
was
we-
with the
when we
OSLAD grant.
poured that jogging path, I recall conduit being placed underneath the path in
Other-
certain locations for
Right,
walking lights.
But nobody knows where that's at.
Yeah.
We have no drawings on it. Everybody agrees that it
Yes.
happened, but nobody can agree on where they are.
I wasn't,
So-
I'm gonna
Yeah.
take the easy way out. I wasn't around when that happened, so.
Yeah, yeah.
No, that was probably, what, 15 to 20 years ago.
Yeah, that was in '07, I wanna say,
Yeah.
with the OSLAD grant, so.
Yeah, so,
I would start over, because probably all that plastic pipe
Yeah.
is crushed anyway.
especially with
Yeah.
those, the side of the path that the existing light is on, we'd probably be able to trench along the path and not have to actually cross under the path. So that was one of the reasons why that was considered at this point, and just with the amount of traffic that's down at the end of the park and how dark it is. When the baseball field lights aren't on in that area was why we made that an
Do
area.
you have an idea what type of lighting you want? Can it be low profile lighting that's only a couple feet high?
I have zero idea what lighting I
Okay.
want.
I'm just
The only idea is that, I mean, if we're lighting this up so people have a safe path to walk,
Yes.
what about the other 2/3 of the park?
Is
I'm
it-
not saying don't do this,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you guys are looking at that, and I don't know if it's a pole, if it's,
Yeah,
From the concert series, right, that's what you're talking
well,
about
just anything.
specifically?
I mean, if someone wants to use that,
Going
that
towards
path
Miller
just to
Street.
walk at night.
We
Yeah,
may be able
no,
to
sure,
check,
yeah.
we may be able to check too with the fire department, I know sometimes like the maze bag, whatever the number it is, they've got those little light trucks, you
Yeah,
know,
but I'm
they
talking
pull up.
something permanent.
he's talking like
Yeah.
permanent
Yeah.
lighting,
I mean, if
especially.
people wanna
with
use the
the-
path during the, throughout the year to
We should
walk.
light up the splash pad just for security.
Well, and that's,
Well, and that's
I
the
see
thing,
that number
is-
4, I mean,
Yeah.
there's no, I mean, we're
Yeah.
gonna put a camera there with no light to light anything up so we can't see anything, or?
I believe, chief, and if you wanna wait until we
I
get to
can
that
see guys
point.
number 4.
Yeah, we could,
But
yeah,
that's just-
but I believe those cameras are rated for that. That was
For
one of
dark?
the things we looked at. That was one of the things we considered.
I'll just note too that I like this idea of
I agree.
Some sort of aesthetically pleasing lighting along the rest of the path, would be nice.
Which is why our list is ever growing of projects that the Fourth of July Commission is more than willing to help along the way. So,
Well, I'd love to tackle this, but this is under park, so this is yours, so go
Yes.
for it, man.
but yeah, we will run with this. I will go back to the commission with this
But like I said, it
idea.
doesn't have to be poles, if you, I know they
Yeah.
have those lower lights that light I mean, just.
Oh yeah,
just something.
absolutely. Yeah, look into something to go close more from the Miller parking lot towards the actual band shell.
Yeah, just, I mean, the rest of the park, I
Yeah,
mean, people walk that
absolutely.
throughout the year.
Absolutely.
Like I said, hopefully
Originally,
these concert series will be good, people will have to park at Miller and then walk down towards it.
the walking path originally had low profile lighting all the way around it.
Yeah.
And that's why this conduit was put underneath the path, but
Allegedly.
As I recall, from,
Somewhere.
from what I've understood, part of the reason why the lighting on the west side was less was they didn't want to also interfere with the residents' backyards and stuff at night.
But this low profile LED lighting could really light up the ground.
Oh, yeah.
But not light up,
Now,
not make it look like a
ambient
city park
space,
where it's
Yeah.
a park, it doesn't look like a park.
So it might be something to look into then. We'll maybe look at
Yeah.
something
I
that's
know,
more
I
of
mean,
a
there's poles
ground.
out there for the field
ground
lights, I
clearance
know there's
lighting.
the
Yeah.
scoreboards
have
out there,
power
so,
out there.
yeah, there's
Yes,
scoreboards,
there's
there's
plenty of
lights
power.
on the
The
fields.
timers all tie into those, relay boxes out there as well, so I'm sure there's something we can come up with. But I will, I'll bring it to the commission's attention as well. Any other discussion on that? Okay, coordination of the food stand maintenance and the use of the building, before the 4th of July. The food stand was emptied this weekend by the commission, and, trustee Kraus also came down. There were about 6 of us down there, we got everything moved in about 30 minutes. They cleaned the walls today, they'll be waxing and, sealing the floors, tomorrow. The cost of this, project was $600, 4th of July Commission and Lions Club split the cost of that, so, that will all be prepped and ready for the first, concert on May 7th.
Just under maintenance on it, the work that they've done down there, the 4th of July Commission with the new bathroom and the way they redesigned it and the storage area and, there's secure, lockers in there for radios and stuff like that. It's starting to look really nice. They've done a great
Yep.
job down there. So
Huge,
good job to you guys.
huge thank you to Ken Bowski, who spent a ton of his own time down there redoing that, as well as Chuck Hain and Hayden Carsonson was also down there. So thanks to all of them for the help down there. And the 4th of July Commission will be the one serving the food at that first event as well. The pillars behind the village hall that hold up the drive-through will be repaired soon. This will be tuck pointing, and is there any brick replacement along with that, or? just
Minimal,
tuck
but
pointing?
yeah.
Yeah,
There will be some brick,
and some brick replacement?
yeah.
Okay, so that's coming up. And then we have the splash pad camera. Update, anything?
You look behind you too, Matt?
All I know is that the pole's there. We did talk with George from George's Landscaping today, and mentioned to him that the electrical outlet that was supposed to be in place is not. He was, I guess, willing to make that
He knew it was
repair.
part of the contract,
Yeah,
missed it.
so,
And they noticed it because they wanted to plug in a, I guess some type of machine that puts down glue for this rubber
Right.
matting, and there was no outlet there, they had to haul a generator.
yeah,
So they
so
weren't too happy either.
they're, so George is supposed to be out, so if you guys do not know, the splash pad has been completed as of today. All the rubber matting has been put down, they started on it last Wednesday or Thursday. The fence will remain up for an additional week or so, and then George is gonna come out, finish all of the water features, and turn everything on. I'll meet him down there, and at some point, we'll make sure that that electric gets installed. So when that happens, chief, I'll let you know, and we can
Then
get
we'll
the
call
camera
it
guy
back
out
here.
here,
Yeah, the
and
camera guy.
it'll be into the new budget, which we have park maintenance funds, you know, for next year too, so getting the camera installed won't be an issue.
We paid already, the camera
We
guy.
may have, yeah.
Oh,
And
for
it
that
is
portion as
possible,
well?
too. If we get that 110 outlet in there, that we can plug the camera, in, but also plug maybe an LED corn cob in there aimed toward the splash pad, at least get us by until we get the path lit up and get that splash pad lit up, is that possible?
I mean, the other lights in the park, I believe, or cameras in the park are, night vision, so I don't think, I don't see, you
You
know,
don't need the need for that?
not right away, I don't think so.
Also, while we're on the topic of splash pad, we do need to come up with some sort of ribbon cutting for that. So if anyone's got any ideas, feel free to let me know, because that will be coming up to that. We're gonna kind of float that date right now, just with the way the weather's been lately. Setting a hard date for Memorial Day weekend might not be our best bet. So, wait and see what the weather does. But we'll have more information forthcoming on that. And also, we forgot about the gas, gotta do the gas update. Last week, Nicor came out, there is gas to the food building now, so they're officially going over to gas. As of right now, the commission is going to purchase 2 gas fryers for down there. So those will be available to use in the food building, as well as there's a possibility of us coming into some other equipment as time progresses here, so.
The question that came up today is, if we replace equipment down there, we have this used equipment, does the village board want us to declare it surplus, or can we dispose of it? What do you wanna do with the old griddles and things that are down there?
Should we defer
Like
to
worth
the
anything?
commission?
Yeah.
There was some interest from a charitable organization that's looking for some equipment, that does the 4-H club out of Prairie 4-H, does their expo down there every year. So they had reached out as they found out that we were getting the gas, and they had come out to look, because they're building a new food building out at the
Will count.
Will County Fairgrounds, so they had expressed some interest in maybe figuring out some kind of arrangement to maybe pick up some of that equipment, because they do not have natural gas at the fairgrounds, and they won't give them natural gas there. So,
These griddles were donated to the village as part of the park donation from the fire department back in '96. It was a while back.
I mean, we can, I can bring it over to the commission as well, and
Ask them.
we can talk to them and see if they have any suggestions, so. But, yeah, just something to think about as well. Natural gas is in, should be piped in, as long as the pipe fitter that claims to work down there will get that stuff done for him, so. But yeah, other than that, all good, and that concludes my report.
Alright, Planning, Building and Zoning Committee, trustee Stacy.
Thank you, Mayor. Planning and Zoning Commission meeting is scheduled for this coming Thursday, April 28th, 7 p.m. at the Village Hall. There's 2 public hearings for outdoor LED signs will be held for the Beecher Village Hall and the nursing home for the Beecher Chamber. My other thing is the continuing discussion for the trailers and, front yard setback. Everybody's received a copy of the section 413 trailers, campers with the revises on it. Mayor, did you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, we met, just based on the feedback we got from the board at the last meeting, we decided to kind of tweak that ordinance. I mean, what Plan Commission did was great, but they have been asked to do one thing, and then, you know, the board was concerned about people who work. So basically, you've got on your desk, the second paragraph on that page particularly, just tweaked a few sentences that basically says if you have a trailer that you use in the course of your employment, you can get a variance, and just by coming before the village board, get sign-offs from your neighbors, make sure you have nobody that's upset, show a site plan of where it's gonna be parked, and come before the board. We're not gonna charge fees or anything, they can come in and petition the board, and then you guys can decide. And, you know, basically, if somebody's using it for their job and taking it to work every day, that's one thing. If somebody is using it to, you know, become an illegal shed, that would be another scenario, and you could make that determination based on the information they bring, so. So that's kind of what we went over, and then we would probably do this at a different meeting, because.
Oh, the attorney has to draft it.
Attorney's gotta draft it, yeah. And then what we could do if anybody, you know, if everybody is okay with that, the attorney could draft that, and then, we would just do it as an amendment to what came up last time, rather than sending it back to Plan Commission again for more public hearings. We don't really need to do that.
And we also changed the, property owner to property owner and or legal resident, right?
Oh, yes, yes. Yes, because they brought up that sometimes you may have someone who lives in the household who is not the legal owner, if you have people in a relationship or something, so, or a renter, so we changed that terminology, that the petitioner or designated representative can come in, so.
And we discussed the 4 scenarios at the bottom there, to make sure our ordinance would work. And that's where that legal resident terminology came from. As you can see in the scenarios, you might have a son that's living there, you might have a live-in, maybe the person was single and lived there, and all of a sudden, somebody moved in with that individual that did have a trailer, so we discussed those issues.
And those bottom 4 are scenarios that have actually come up over the years, so that's why Bob pulled them out of his memory.
So I make sure we address all those issues, because they do come up.
Yep, so.
Anybody have any questions?
Going forward until that's done, how do I handle enforcement?
This would have to be voted on by the board,
May
otherwise,
9th,
yeah.
2 weeks from now. Yeah, right now, we'll just cool the jets for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Does anybody have any additional input on that, or is that okay with, I know, Joe, you were the ones that had.
Oh,
yeah.
I was just gonna ask, do you think that we'll get a nuisance amount of people trying to apply for this without tacking a fee on? I'm not saying that we need to tack on fees for everything, but do you think it'll become an issue if we just say,
How
come to
many-
us and give us a scenario and?
Well, how many of these are out there that have been an issue? Just one?
Just one, but I've found, at least in the last 2 weeks, I found several trailers and driveways.
I'm just,
And I basically just,
I'm concerned about the give an inch, take a mile.
That comes up to the village board's case-by-case determinations of these cases.
Okay.
You have to be strict in your application of the rule. If the word gets out that you're letting anything come in with a free permit, then that could be a problem.
Yeah.
You have to stick to your ordinance, you know, and say, okay, is this a legal resident or a property owner? Is this a primary source of income for that individual? You know?
I agree, I just
Does he
didn't know.
have a hardship? Are there other ways to reasonably accommodate his need? You know, and that's what you have to look at, and it's tough. Right now, the code enforcement officer's trying to make those
Oh, yeah.
decisions.
No, and I'm not saying that, you know, trying to get off easy and say, oh, no, I just didn't know if maybe it would be, if that wouldn't be an idea, just to kind of keep the amount of applicants down. You know, someone who's actually using it for their business isn't gonna come sit in front of the board and pay a fee, whereas someone might try to sneak one by and sit down in front of the village board, it's not gonna cost them anything. It's fine.
Our special use permit fees used to be a lot lower, and when we started having a ton of people coming in for fences,
We raised it.
we raised it up way high and that kind of,
Yeah,
cut off the amount of people coming
I,
forward.
it's
But,
just an observation, that's all.
and
I
that's
don't know
something
what
the board
fee- I
could
don't know what
determine, yeah, that's something the board
Yeah.
could determine later too, if it's something
Okay.
where you're
Yeah.
Yeah, if
suddenly
it
getting
becomes like a
flooded with
nuisance
them.
where we're getting, you
The
know,
hardest thing for this person to do is go to his neighbors and get them to
that's true,
sign a letter of support. That can be
That's
tough
true.
in some cases,
yeah,
you know,
that's true.
yeah.
So Bob, with this, I assume there's still some protections to make sure that it's not too close to the road where it like causes, you know, obstruction or anything like that, or visibility obscuring?
You can't block public sidewalk.
Mhm.
So
But everything else still like sits like 5 feet from the
Yeah.
property line,
That's
all
the line
that,
there, Ben.
all that stuff still stays.
And it's gotta be said, if it's
you
said
can impervious
anywhere.
surface, you can't park it on
Impervious
surface, you can't park it and let weeds grow underneath it, you know, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
And the village board can put any condition on that special use permit, so if someone comes up here and you realize this thing is 37 feet long, you might say he's gotta stay 5 foot off the public sidewalk with his trailer. You know, you might have different requirements you can put on that specific permit. So, we're giving you an open book, basically, to write your rules for each case as you move along.
This is definitely just a case by case stuff.
And you could do another, you could say, you know what, we're gonna give you a permit for 1 year, but you gotta come back in a year and get it renewed, because we wanna see how it works. You could do that too. You know,
So with you saying this is an open book, and I know one of the ones who asked that this be reconsidered, but what, will that get us into legal trouble for like, yes, no, no, yes, 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 no? I mean, how, I don't see anything in here, you know, you mentioned the word hardship, that's nowhere in here. And I'm not saying it should be, but what legal justification do we have to tell people no then? I mean, if we don't set some parameters in this ordinance, or are we okay doing that? I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
that's what the committee discussed, I don't know.
Well, isn't that something we can bring up when we send it over to the attorney to write the ordinance? Ask him, can we get into trouble with this? Do we need to narrow this down further? Do we need to be more specific with requirements?
I mean, do we need to put lengths of the trailers? I mean, I'm asking, because I don't know the answer to it.
Yeah,
What legal authority?
It's hard to write a law that applies to every case, because we have a guy.
But I'm not asking for that, I'm asking, are we gonna get ourselves in legal trouble if we do this on a case-by-case basis, and you tell some people yes, some people no?
Any ordinance you write is gonna be tested in a court of law if someone wants to push it that far. So whether you have an open book ordinance and you do a specific case, or if you have a strict ordinance, that person still has the right to go to a Will County judge and plead this case. So, and Terry, you were gonna say something?
I would just recommend that the board maintain the general consistency in their decision.
In the decision making, yeah. Now, if you wanna write rules for that, go ahead, but that's difficult, because like, we have that one guy, his house is 400 feet off the road. So he can use his front yard to park trailers in, because his front yard setback is 30 foot off the road and his house is 400 foot back. So why would I limit the
Park
length?
30 trailers in.
Yeah, why would I limit the size of his trailer in that specific case? It doesn't matter, whether it's 38 feet or 12 feet, you know? So it's hard to write an ordinance that's gonna fit every scenario. And I think you're gonna see this once or twice a year. I don't see this happening a lot, you know? People do not want to appear in front of a governing board and plead their case, you know? But we'll find out.
Are you guys generally okay with this, or do you have suggestions to do any changes before we send it to the attorney?
The last case we had was a guy with a 2-story garage. Now, I can count on one hand since I've been here, how many special use permits this village board had to get involved in outside of PZC hearings. But this was one of them where the guy come in, he did all his homework, he had a site plan, he had architectural rendering, he had all his neighbors sign the petition. There was no real reason not to grant him his special use. You know, it seemed to work, and he did everything right. The other one was the cargo containers, the hardware store requested that cargo container, but very few occurred.
You know, the alternative is you send everybody to plan commission instead and charge them $750 to be able to park their work trailer in their driveway, which
And then
seems
have a public
excessive.
hearing, which allows the neighbors to bring up everything but the trailer,
Yeah,
which has happened too.
that's kind of why we
I think-
figured,
Am I right?
I
let's
think
do
that'd
it.
be excessive.
Yeah, that's what we figured, let's go this route and,
The point isn't to punish people, it's
Yeah.
make sure people can make a living.
You know, this is a staff, this is the best shot the community had. If it's wrong, we can rewrite it again.
yeah, if it doesn't work or if we get a deluge of people coming in.
That's good.
Alrighty. Public Safety Committee, trustee Thierry.
Thank you, Mayor. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock, at the Washington Township Center, we have our presentation for seniors. It's going to talk about fraud and scams. Bruce Burgley's is going to have free coffee and donuts will be provided there. We also have our police department bike rodeo. It's the date that is set is for Saturday, July 2nd, and then the actual time and location is going to be announced soon.
Hey,
Like-
Joe,
Huh?
just make sure when you get the exact time and stuff, to email it to us, we'll add it to the agenda.
Is
So
9
it's on
AM a
our
safe
print.
time to say you're gonna start? Registration 8:30, start the thing at 9? I'd run with that.
Cause I can get that to Cameron and have him add that to our
Okay, well then we'll start at
agenda.
9. Yeah.
I think we'll use
8:30
fire-
And we're
start.
still gonna use Fireman's Park?
It's fine, yeah, the parking lot, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Very good.
And
We'll
that
have
will
it
be
blocked
open?
off. Yeah, we'll have it blocked off, so that.
We'll go off the night before.
Yeah, but no one's there that early in the morning anyway, except for us cleaning up a little bit.
Alright, so July 2nd, 9 o'clock, Fireman's Park.
Sounds good.
Okay. Also too, I left my phone at home, but I think it's 11 o'clock this Saturday. We've got the parade for Beecher. It'll be starting at the church parking lot and moving to Fireman's Park. So,
11 AM, and then a police escort?
was it 11 AM? I can't
No,
remember.
I'm
I know
not
I told-
sure, but I just want, we do need a police
I wanted to
escort.
say it was 10, because they have, their games are gonna be starting afterwards, they have all their home opener games after
The
that.
first game starts at 11. I don't know, maybe, I don't know. Well anyways, keep your ears open for that.
There's
I
a
know
parade
it's-
Saturday.
We'll all be there at 8 o'clock, but just wanted to let you guys know. And then consider an ordinance amending pertaining to the parking on village streets after snowfall of 2 inches or more. Both the Public Works Committee and the Public Safety Committees met, and we discussed that the snow parking, and it was agreed that the current restrictions right now from 1 AM to 6 AM time period to be removed from the ordinance, so that the ordinance now reads for 24 hours after snowfall of 2 inches or more. This gives more time for snow removal efforts, since we looked at it and said that all the events really kind of don't line up from the time frame between 1 AM and 6 AM if it's snowing in the afternoon or snowing in the evening and then stops. What, you know, where do we go from snow plowing and to enforcement period with the police department? So we now think that it's going to be better for us to have it read for 24 hours after snowfall of 2 inches or more. So the new ordinance is in everybody's packets. I'd like to review it. And no questions. I would like to make a motion to amend the ordinance pertaining.
Ordinance number 1372.
Ordinance 1372 pertaining to the parking on village streets after 2 inches of snowfall or more, so that it will now reflect for 24 hours after snowfall of 2 inches or more.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion? Roll call?
Possession,
Yes.
Janetti,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can do that.
after.
Yeah, afterwards. Public Works Committee, trustee Kraus.
Thank you. Consider payment in the amount of $168,124.50 to Grant Excavating as progress payment number 2 in the lead service line replacement project, pending release of loan funds from the IEPA. So I'll make a motion, consider payment in the amount of $168,124.50 to Grant Excavating as project payment number 2, pending release of loan funds from the IEPA.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion? Roll call?
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Possession.
Yes.
Lead service line update. Matt?
So far in the system, they found 122 lead lines. They have 76 complete, and they're hoping to be done with the project completely by the middle of May.
Way under budget.
So all these people can stop worrying about their flags in their yards.
I'm beginning to get phone calls.
Yeah. The village hall gets 5 to 10, Jeanette, a day? Marcy's getting them on the weekend on her cell phone, so, yeah.
Any questions about that? Gould Street water main replacement project? What's the news?
The project has actually begun. They started digging today, so, that is underway. They're starting on the northern end with the 10-inch along Miller Street and then wrapping their way around south. There is some issues with soil borings that Bob can discuss. That's going to add some costs to the project at the end. We found some what they consider as hot soil. Basically, what they found like oil in the soil borings.
In the old days, when the road was dirt, in front of the saloons, they would put oil down to keep the dust out. Well, this is a federal job. Feds say you've got to test your soil. Typically on a water main job, we don't test the soil, we're directional drilling.
Right.
So we test the soil and guess what? We get a bad sample right in front of the taverns there where mains go. So now the feds are saying, oh, you gotta tear all that dirt out and take it to the landfill. Well, this is gonna increase the cost of the job. And it's just an aggravating Monday morning, pull your hair out kind of deal. You know? I don't know how much it's gonna cost, I don't know how much time it's gonna add to the job, but M&J's a good contractor, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right, but again, if we didn't have this federal grant, we wouldn't be doing soil borings on a water main job. So that's where we are with that.
Their original tentative completion date was around the middle of July, but with the pipe issue that they had a couple weeks ago, as well as now soil boring issues, we're probably looking closer to middle to end of August at the earliest for the project completion.
So we'll work the parade around it. So.
Yeah, we'll figure that out as the time gets closer.
And then Penfield Street, Bob?
I'm gonna take my glasses off again.
Just leave them off long.
We certified we asked, the final step in the easement process was have the village attorney certify the easements, and he did. And then IDOT rejected his certification because they said he was certifying the fact that these easements were being given to IDOT and not the village. IDOT supplied us with the easements. So now they're saying we have to redo the easements. They gave us the easements to record. I don't know why we have to do it. It's their job. It's their bid. We're not bidding it. The only thing we're supplying is a construction engineer. It's their money, their bid, but they want us to have these are temporary construction easements, not permanent easements. So we're in a spitting match right now with IDOT, and it's holding up our bid date. That's all I can say.
So it's not gonna be June?
I doubt it at this point. And I'm very frustrated. I hate Mondays. Because these things always come on Mondays. So I wanna get this thing done. I mean, it's been, when did we start Penfield? 2012, man?
12, yeah.
And here we are 10 years into it, and we still haven't let it bid? Oh well. Continue on, Mr. Chairman.
Are you sure? I
Yeah.
like this rank, keep going, man.
I won't sleep tonight.
You only got 15 more, Todd.
3 things, let's go. Spending some money tonight. Consider motions approving pump repairs at the Beecher wastewater treatment plant and the Miller Street lift station. Last couple of weeks, Some pump failures have occurred at both the Beecher wastewater treatment plant and the Miller Street lift station that were not expected and not budgeted. Superintendent will explain each repair and request approval for the following. So, Bill?
Sure. So the first one, the pump number 3, the repair cost for that is just under 10,000. At this time, it is currently in the shop for repair. That's one of the pumps at the main sewer wet well where all of the sanitary water comes into the plant for treatment. So it's a vital piece of the puzzle down there, and I would like to see that approved for the repair.
You just want to explain the other one and then I'll do the motions.
Sure. So the second one is the Miller Street lift station, which is over here on Miller East, which collects all of the sanitary water from that neighborhood as well as part of the southern half of Prairie Crossing subdivision. We had it vectored out after realizing that our pump times were running extremely long. And it's been going on for about 2 to 3 months. We noticed that the electric bills had got extremely high, things of that nature. So we were trying to dissect what was actually going on. And when we had M&J Underground come out and vector it, they sucked out an unknown amount of gravel and stone and things like that that were dumped down at the sewer plant, which obviously shouldn't be in there. So the pumps that are in there are considered grinder pumps, meaning that anything the size of like a quarter or bigger gets grinded before it gets sucked up through the impeller, so that way the impeller doesn't get damaged. Well, when with anything you're sucking rocks through it, it's going to damage it. So both pumps had to be repaired, and the cost for that, just for the lift station, was $3,775. We had some other issues with the 8-inch pump that came in when we sent it out last October for repair that the village board approved. For whatever reason, Xylem did not include new floats. That they told us that the old floats would work on the new computer in there, and come to find out they actually don't, so there's an added cost for that of almost $1,900. And then as pump 3 was out, pump 2 right next door to it in the main wet well failed, and that one had to be pulled and repaired, and that was at a cost of $3,200. So we had a lot of stuff go on within a week or 2 period there. We do have high flows at Miller Street Lift Station. Trustee Kraus was with me this afternoon. We went and looked at some of the stuff, and we do have high flows at Miller Street Lift Station. I talked to M&J while they're cammering some of the sewers up along Gould Street project. I'm going to have them come up to Miller Street, see if we can't figure out what's actually happening up there and why we're having the high flows. When we pop a manhole to the east of the lift station, you can actually hear water flowing. We tested it for chlorine. There's no chlorine in it, so we're not sure if somebody's...
That's all plastic pipe too.
I don't know if the sanitary is or not. I don't know. The water means definitely not. But yeah, so we definitely have had some repairs that that these, item A and B cover. So with pump 2, there was a rental pump that we had to get from Xylem in order to get the level to drop enough to get the pump out, and it was an entire process for sure. So with this critical infrastructure like this, obviously things cost an extreme amount of money. So we're here tonight asking for the funds to make the repairs for that stuff.
So I'll make a motion authorizing a rebuild of pump number 3 at the Beecher wastewater treatment plant for an amount not to exceed $10,000, with funds coming from the water and sewer debt service fund.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion, roll call?
Possession,
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes. I'll make a motion authorizing repairs to the impellers at the Miller Street lift station in an amount not to exceed $10,000, with funds coming from the water and sewer debt service fund.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion, roll call?
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Oh, I'm just beginning, we got a while to go. We're sorry.
Just getting started.
Yeah, third way through, I think. Consider a motion authorizing the purchase of a spare 6-inch flight pump for the Beecher wastewater treatment plant to be used whenever one of the 3 existing pumps fails and the need repair at a cost not to exceed $18,000, with funds coming from the Water and Sewer Debt Service Fund. This will give us a spare pump we need to utilize when an existing pump goes down as under repair for 6 to 8 weeks. So there's 5 of these pumps in inventory across the nation right now, with a 6-month lead time for new pumps, so this is something we feel we need to get done now. The new pump we place into service immediately, and the spare rebuilt will be the one on the shelf waiting for the next failure. We had this protocol with the old sewer plant, but did not believe that 2 of our newer pumps would go out at the same time, and now this has happened. These are the pumps that clear the collection system and keep water out in the basements. So basically what Matt was talking about with A above, there's 3 pumps there, wastewater treatment plant, 2 of the 3 went down, so we're running on 1. God forbid that last one went down, that's when people's basements start getting water. So, like this says, we're gonna put the new one in, and when that old one comes back, that's getting rebuilt, that'll go on the shelf, so if one of those other goes down, we have a spare. God forbid 2 go down, then, we're not operating on 1 pump. So I'll make a motion authorizing the purchase of a spare 6-inch flight pump for the Beecher wastewater treatment plant, not to exceed $18,000, with funds coming from the Water and Sewer Debt Service Fund.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion, roll call.
Musician,
Yes.
Giannotti,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes. Consider a motion authorizing the purchase of an electric hoist in the amount not to exceed $3,000 for mounting at wet well and sewer plants or pump lifts. Currently, the village is paying $1,000 per lift for a third party to come out for inspections and repairs. The crane will allow our staff to pull our own pumps and put them back in use. We're also, there's elements of time waiting for a contractor to come out. And as we've discussed, lag times and everything for parts to laborers just continue to build. The idea is that now the sewer operator can switch these out when we need to. This was not on our radar until 2 pumps failed at the same time 2 weeks ago, which is what I discussed earlier. So I can make a motion authorizing the purchase of an electric hoist in an amount not to exceed $3,000 for mounting at wet well in the sewer plant.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion.
Quick question on this one.
Say I have to, go ahead.
So, is this like, are we talking like a, chain, like electric chain fall type deal, or what kind of hoist is this? Is it like?
It's a winch, the sewer operator and I have been working
Yeah.
on it. And it works off of a permanent base, so you put your anchor bolts in 3 locations on the wet well, and you just move it back and forth, bolt it down. Cable goes down on a winch, it's run by remote control, so you can be on the opposite side of the hole, lining up to hook your pump. The pump has a hook on the top. You lift it out, you bring it up, we can check the impeller, we can put a new one back down in the hole, and somehow these are automatic flanges, so when it drops into the right spot, boom, it automatically connects to the system. So you don't have to go down in the wet well at all. The problem we have now is we have to hire a contractor to come out and pull it with the crane. And when this problem happens on Friday night, the guy says, well, I can probably book you in on Tuesday. We're losing 4 days. Our guys will do it that night. They'll pull that pump, see if they can then put our replacement back in that hole.
And then, the other thing was, what you're gonna pay for this hoist, if you pull 2 pumps out, maybe 3, you pay for the hoist.
Yeah.
That was my question, how often do we do that?
Yes.
Yeah,
How
how often
often
are
do
we
you make your
pulling
money
them?
back?
Pretty often lately, on those 3 at the wet well, for whatever reason, pump 2 keeps going into trip failure, and we have to pull it in order to reset it. We're unsure why. I had a conversation with the plant operator today, maybe when we get the 3rd pump back from repair, that we're actually gonna pull pump 2, put pump 3 back in its position to see if we keep getting the same trips. That way we know if it's a pump issue or a wiring issue, SCADA issue, whatever type of issue in that. But Yeah, we did look at the pedestal today, and like Bob was saying, it just gets mounted. This would only be for the sewer plant, for the main wet well 6-inch pumps. This wouldn't be able to be moved to the lift stations or anything like that, so those would be separate.
Any more discussion? Roll call?
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Flags and street banner update?
They'll be going up before Memorial Day. I know the village board made a decision not to put flowers on Dixie Highway, but to keep the flags up longer. So we do have current inventory for the flags. We just gotta hope that the weather holds out and doesn't totally destroy them like it does. We always get the storms that come through and completely rips them apart. But we do have some spares in stock, so if that happens, we can switch them out. So. But we typically run them from Memorial Day to about the week or two after July, but that'll be up to the board if we want to keep them up longer till,
Through Labor Day or something.
yeah, whatever you guys decide is fine with us.
Any questions about that? Brush pickup has begun, will occur every Tuesday, weather permitting, correct?
Yeah,
My favorite item, street sweeping program is complete for another year, thank God for that. Hydrant flushing was also completed last week. Fire district conducted a hydrant flow testing to lower ISO rating. What's ISO rating? Insurance?
Insurance.
Okay.
I don't know what it stands for, it's an insurance rating.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the results look pretty good, fared better than we thought it would be, and the testing did not result in any water main breaks, which is fortunate.
yeah, just a note on that, we've always had this theory of that our water system was old and deteriorating and things like that, which parts of it are obviously, but with this flow test, it showed that it's not as in bad of shape as what everybody thought it was going to be. There's a rating of blue being your highest hydrant flow rate, then it goes to green, yellow, orange, and red. You don't want to be in orange or red, and fortunately for us, they did 9 hydrants total. 7 of those 9 were in the blue at the very highest rating, and the others were in the green rating. So we exceeded what everybody's expectations were, surprisingly, and like Trustee Kraus said, we didn't have any breaks, so which was
And the
very
fire district
fortunate.
is pleased with the results.
Yeah, they were extremely pleased with it. So their ISO report, I believe, is due in the second week of May. That they're meeting with the ISO adjuster. So we'll see how it all pans out.
And if they give a 2 rating like they're hoping, they will bring their fire insurance rating down.
Yeah, your homeowner's insurance is reflected by this for fire service. So that's the whole reason for it.
Matt, is the color rating still kind of the same? I believe it is all right. Blue is 1500.
1500 GPM. Yeah.
500 is,
Red, yeah.
red is 500 and under.
Or under, yeah, 499 or under. Yeah, all of our hydrants are red in town. That's more for an aesthetics thing. That has nothing to do with the NFPA color
Some people
coding.
paint
Like,
that way.
right. Some people leave the hydrants yellow and paint their caps blue or
Yeah.
red and whatever to be color coordinated. The fire department would like for us to do that, but that's pretty labor intense. We're obviously a smaller system. We have 394 hydrants in the system total that we would have to change over to the way they want them. If the
Would you be
hydrant,
opposed if they volunteered to paint the caps?
no,
Okay,
no,
I mean, just the cap.
Yeah, paint the
Yeah.
steamer.
right.
Paint the steamer, yeah,
Just
whatever.
one. Some do just the top section of the hydrant where the nut's at. I mean, different areas do different things, but we've never done it that way, and you know, it's not really a big issue as long as the water comes out of the hydrant. And, you know, that's what these flow tests show. Is the flow tests were done in different areas all over town. The 2 lowest ratings were in the old part of town, one of which was on the corner of Miller and Oak Park, which it's not a fed from multiple directions like some of the other hydrants in the areas are. So it's not a dead end, it's a 90. It's right on a 90, so that will slow your flows down, things like that. So, I don't recall. I think actually the other green one was on the corner of Penfield and Gould, which will be getting upgraded in the system with the Gould Street project. So we might get to bump that one up. You know, that's done every 5 years. Is their ISO reports done every 5 years? So They would like to see every single hydrant done in town. We told them that we would not like to see every hydrant done in town, just because we're more concerned about problems occurring, and it really stirs up the system too. I know we had some phone calls and stuff in the days after, because you flow them wide open as full bore as you can. You actually have to do two next to each other to create your pilot pressure and whatnot. So it's a whole. It took them a whole day to do nine flow tests on hydrants. So
We're good for 5 years then? on this?
yeah.
Consider a motion declaring a 1995 7500W generator on single axle trailer as surplus property. This generator's fuel tank has rusted out and the application for the generator no longer apply here in the village. The department is asking that it be sold at silent auction as surplus. A new one is scheduled in the budget we just passed. So I'd like to make a motion declaring a 1995 7500W generator on single axle trailer as surplus property.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion, roll call.
Possession,
Yes.
Gennady,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes. Village denied funding from IDOT Safe Routes to School grant for sidewalk gap project. Receiving closed list of awards, project awards and non-awards. Cutoff was 76.43 points and we had 68.43. About half the applications received awards. This project is going to be shelved at the time until we can find other grant opportunities. Consider a motion authorizing the proposal for the installation of a new flatbed from Monroe Truck Equipment in the amount of $6,931. 3 proposals were received and the enclosed as the least expensive due to the lag time of ordering. The bed is being requested now. So I'd like to make a motion authorizing a proposal for the installation of a new flatbed from Monroe Truck Equipment in the amount of $6,931.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion, roll call.
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Gennady,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Consider a motion authorizing the purchase of a water main response trailer from Funk's Trailer in an amount not to exceed.
Do we have to up that?
I do, yeah. I have
14,000?
13,840 is the cost of the actual trailer itself.
That's the exact cost?
That's the exact cost if you want to do it not to
Not to
exceed
exceed
14.
Okay.
And it's not coming from Funk's. Funk's does not have the trailers in stock and won't for 9 to 12 months.
Who are we getting from again? I know you told me earlier. Remember?
Morris Trailer Sales is the name of the company.
These will be getting hot commodities too, they're getting harder and harder to find.
Yeah, oh yeah. I do have pricing on other trailers, but there is one trailer for $11,700, but it's located in Decatur, Georgia. If
Road trip.
yeah, if you want to save some money on the trailer and pay for a trip down to Georgia, I guess we could do that. But
Gas prices.
yeah.
County superintendent at a chairman job. So, this trailer is a 69-week lag time for delivery, so Public Works would like to get this now. Hope to be available in the late summer when their new truck arrives. So I'll make a motion authorizing the purchase of a water main response trailer from, you said Morris Trailers?
Correct.
Morris Trailers, the amount not to exceed $14,000.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion,
I have another thing on that. So the company, since we've never dealt with them before, would like cash on delivery. They are saving this trailer for us currently now. The 6 to 9 week lag time was for when we originally were planning on purchasing this from Funk's. Like I said, Funk's does not have any in stock. Now they're telling us 9 to 12 months. What I'm asking for is for the treasurer to be able to write a check for this purchase after the May 1st, once the new budget is in effect. I don't know if you have to change the motion on that to approve that writing of a check before the actual bills come out, or how that process works, but
just approve.
as long
It's
as,
gonna show up on the treasurer's report and you guys still have to vote on it, approve it anyway.
okay.
Yeah. But thanks for bringing that up.
Okay, roll call.
Possession,
Yes.
Gennady,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes. consider a motion declaring the 1984 P30 step van as surplus property upon the arrival and commissioning of the new trailer. This will allow Public Works to place the equipment up for silent auction once the trailer is placed into service. This will now be after, just after May, right?
Pretty
Not the
soon
6
now.
week- not the
It'll
6th of
probably
May.
be June, I would assume, once that's on the road,
Okay.
once we get it all upfitted and whatnot with,
So I'll make a mo-
toolboxes.
So I make a motion declaring the 1984 P30 step van as surplus property.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion?
You gonna hang on to that?
I was gonna donate it to the 4th of July for next year raffle.
Yeah.
Great vehicle.
Yeah, right?
Win this truck.
Maybe Floss will buy it back.
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
Roll call.
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
And lastly, consider a motion authorizing the superintendent of public works to purchase a snowplow for the new water operator truck. We do not have the exact wording of the motion yet, since we're waiting on bids. Did you get those in?
I do.
Okay, so I guess we will have the wording. But either way, we want to get this now, trying to beat the 4% markup in pricing on May 1st. Do you have your proposals?
I do. So I have 3 prices here, and I don't know if you'd like to write them down. I'll start with the highest from Monroe Truck Equipment at $9,969.
That was the highest, huh?
Yeah. Linex of Cherville, also known as Lot of Fun, they're on 41. This is where we've bought our last 3 plows from. They came in at $9,902.72. And the third and final, with the lowest price, came in at what was Lindco Equipment Sales out of Maryville, which we've done business with them before, came in at $9,653. With the Lindco proposal, they did make an error and they did not quote us for stainless steel like the other 2 did and as I requested. I reached out to them this evening. I have emails back and forth with them. I don't know if any of you just saw me emailing back and forth on my phone. With Daryl, which is the owner, manager of Lindco, he says that they will not be able to beat the next lowest price from Linex of Cherville at the $9,902.72. So,
With the stainless steel.
right, which we've converted everything over to. That's what we've been going with since 2017. Are all stainless steel plows now, just due to rust and corrosion on the steel blades. So, my recommendation would be to go with Linex, seeing that if Lindco gave me the proper proposal, they've admitted that they would not be able to beat that price.
So Linex is the lowest bid then?
Right,
At
would be the
correct-
lowest
at the
correct
bid
bid,
specs.
yeah, with the correct specs, so at $9,902.72.
You needed not to exceed, or do you want that number?
That's the number,
So 9,902, what?
72, yeah.
Trustee Terry had a question. What would Lindco's bid be with the stainless steel?
He couldn't give me that tonight, I can request that for tomorrow morning, but
But it wouldn't be the lowest.
no, it wouldn't, I could show you the emails. He asked me what the next lowest bid difference was, and I told him $249, and he told me that he wouldn't be able to beat that. He admitted in his email that they usually cannot be the lowest bid on Boss plows. So, other manufacturers they can. They're not a specific supplier. Like Lot of Fun is a registered dealer for Boss. Lindco is not. So, Lot of Fun or Linex of Cherville can get better deals because they're a registered dealer for
And we've
Boss.
dealt with all 3 of these companies.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, numerous times, so.
So I'll make a motion authorizing the superintendent of public works to purchase a snowplow from Linex in the amount of $9,902.72 for the new water operator truck.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion? Roll call.
Possession,
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes. And that concludes our report.
Welcome to
job.
Public Works.
Oh.
I can talk.
Economic Development and Community Relations Committee SU session.
All right, thank you. Thankfully, there's not 18 items here. So first off, and quickly, the spring newsletter was mailed last week, so thank you, Jeanette, for all your hard work on that.
Did everybody get one?
Looks great, yes.
Yeah,
Come
I
in
didn't get
Saturday.
one.
Wait, did you just say you didn't mail one to yourself?
The post office,
I
this is the
never
village
received
clerk's
one.
newsletter.
I'm just hoping that most of our residents got it.
Well, let's hope so. Next up, Beecher featured an Enterprise Zone email blast. You can go to the Lincoln 394 Enterprise Zone webpage to see Beecher's information at https:// no, I'm not actually gonna read it. I just wanted to make you think I would. Or you can go to the village's webpage and click on the Enterprise Zone tab on the Economic Development page. Next up, Summer Concert Series update. We have one date still that needs a trustee to be the secondary coordinator for the evening. We don't need to decide that here, but just, keep an eye on that.
What day that was, Ben?
Off the top
I think it
of
was the
my head.
August one, wasn't
It's in
You can
here.
put me down for it.
All right,
I'll be there anyway.
sounds great. All right. I will add you there.
Thank you.
Wonderful, and thank you everyone else for stepping up, and Joe as well, obviously, who had already volunteered for some days, to step up and be the coordinators for the various dates. It is appreciated. Outside of that, the concert committee has decided to order a few signs to help advertise the concert series. So I think we're looking at getting 4 signs
Yes.
with the schedule on them. We'll place one at the new property for the police station is the plan. One, I think we were talking about putting at the Fireman's Park,
Yes, on the backstop.
backstop, yeah.
Field 1.
And then
South
potentially
end of
one
town?
out here.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna
we could do one
see,
south of town.
I was gonna see if maybe we could talk to Young about putting one near the, Four Corner sign on the south end of town, see if we could put one.
it? Yeah, that would be Sunoco.
Sunoco? Okay. Talk to them possibly.
'Cause I know Fourth of July has it in there, put a banner up there.
I meant, yeah, if we could put like, one adjacent to that.
Yeah, or you could put it across the street on Young's property. So
Oh, yeah.
He's got his implements.
Yeah, we'll talk to, maybe I will talk to them next week, later this week.
On the other items, we're still working through food for one of the days. I think the food truck's probably, that might not come together. We'll probably have to look for a secondary, food supply on that particular date, but we'll figure that out.
Did you ever get a call back from the restaurant?
Or not yet. So, I'm gonna
I
follow
won't call
up.
them out then.
Huh?
I won't call them out.
I'll follow.
Okay.
I'm thinking, I got tied up on Saturday, and didn't get a chance, so I'm gonna follow up on that.
And then finally, we're, in the midst of prepping for the first event coming up here on, I think, May 7th. Yeah, so very exciting.
Everything's coming together. Contracts for production, we should have this week, so we are booked for our sound, for our 3 dates that we need professional sound assistance. And yeah, good news.
Yeah, very excellent. And so I guess, considering all that, it looks like we'll be a little bit under budget for the entire concert series, not significantly, but, it's a nice thing.
Something will come out, don't worry.
Finds a way. But that's all for the concert series. Next up, consider an invitation for a presentation on electric vehicle charging stations in public parking lots. The village has been approached by a vendor offering this service in exchange for a small rate of return for the village, and the committee would like to ask the board if it would be interested in hearing a presentation on this at a future meeting. If so, staff will arrange. Please see the enclosed PowerPoint. So I've read through the PowerPoint. I think it's an interesting, possibility. I'd be interested to learn more myself. I'm not completely sold on the idea. I'd like to hear the details.
What's a small rate of return mean?
Very
yes.
small, not as much as
Yeah.
your motor fuel tax, I'm guessing. That's one of the issues. The other issue is, how many electric vehicles do we actually have in town that would utilize this?
Yeah, it's a very good question.
I don't know if you can get a database from the state that tells you, from what zip codes these vehicles are from.
I mean, I think there might be more than you would expect
Yep.
from my own just kind of anecdotal knowledge. That being said, for most of the electric vehicle owners I know, they would usually be charging at home, like overnight, and then you just have a full tank, so to speak, all day. So I'm not sure necessarily, under certain circumstances, how useful it'll be you know, at just like, say, like,
Cause this is
the
public
post
parking
office or
only,
something like
right?
that. Yeah, now maybe if it was at like Fireman's Park or something, where if you're gonna be there for like a half an hour or a couple hours for an event, that might be something that could work.
My concern is if we take up this valuable parking space for EV charging,
Mhm,
and no one else can park there, we're gonna be very limited after Penfield Street is done
mhm.
with parking.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
hate
it's a
to
good
see
concern, too.
spaces lost EV charging if no one's gonna be using it.
Nobody really knows, I mean, I know they've got some in Bourbonnais, I think that's the closest ones when we were looking into them. I mean, there's some further north too, but don't they usually put them in like shopping center parking
Yeah.
lots?
Kohl's has got it in their parking lot.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can charge
Yeah.
so
it.
if somebody
There's
goes
some
in the
small-
grocery shop for a half hour, an hour,
Kohl's
or
has
you
got
go
two
in to,
service
you know,
stations
shop
in there.
around, you plug it in and, you know.
But even if you don't decide to put it in your public
Kohl's.
parking, at least if they do a
Kohl's.
presentation, you
Kohl's.
get the word out.
Not Kohl's.
Yeah.
Then you
Yes.
could advocate it to a Waltz or somewhere.
Yeah. I
To me, it would
think
make
it's
sense like a
worthwhile.
Dutch American or a big employer that has people that are parked there all day, give them a free charge for their vehicle while they're working. You know, I don't know why that wouldn't work from an employer-employee relationship for commuting or a Waltz or a Kohl's. But I don't know if I want them all in a post office parking lot and we've got 8 charging stations there, we lose 8 of our 16 spots.
Sure.
I don't think we're a location that's going to be warranting 8 charging locations.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
That's
that,
what
yeah, come on, I mean.
Yeah, that's the
no
thing.
harm to
I
it.
think we need to.
I think we need the information. I mean, and I'm not, I think there's just the information on, is that something we're interested in? And then you have the additional decision on, do we even wanna go with this vendor or this type of deal?
Yeah.
You know?
And this is so new that even the councils of governments, the COGs, don't have any recommendations yet. Only the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus has a recommendation on how these charging stations work. I'd like to see a little more local influences to what we should do. But there
Yeah.
isn't, it's so new, it's not out there yet.
Well, and two, I don't know, I mean, maybe it's crazy, but it might also be something that perhaps discussion at like the planning and zoning might be interesting to see if they have like an idea on if that's appropriate for like, you know, those types of places, I don't know.
We'll set it up, let's hear what they gotta say.
Yeah.
Okay, great, okay. Doesn't harm.
And then Bob, I think you wanted me to bring up the,
Yes, it was my mistake, I didn't put it on the agenda, but cleanup day is Saturday, so let's talk
Yes.
about that a little bit.
so I think there's probably a couple things. So first off, man, as you had said, we have, I think, 4 students signed up currently? for the
Correct.
cleanup day? Okay. And the weather is going to be in the 40s to 50s right now?
Yeah, it looks like 50s and 60 to 70% chance of rain,
Good chance
as
of
of
rain.
now. I mean,
It's also
Exactly
the-
what happened the last time we did this.
yeah.
It's also
No,
the
it's not
same
our
day
fault.
as the
Beecher-
parade,
Beecher
right?
Rec, they're having the parade that day, so.
Yeah.
Which is
So-
at 10 o'clock, by the way. I looked on Beecher Rec's Facebook page. That's at 10 o'clock. Lineup's at 9:45.
I can't see us getting a great turnout for picking up litter or mulching if it's in like the 50s and raining. I think you had mentioned that there was the potential to do the mulching part of it in-house with the
Yeah, I
public
mean,
works.
yeah.
So I guess my spur of the moment thought is perhaps we decouple the 2 activities and handle the mulching in the park internally so that we can have that done before the concert series starts off. And then plan to reschedule a cleanup day for actual just regular litter pickup around town, at a different date where it's maybe more.
I just don't know if we're gonna get a bigger turnout at a later date from the school. I mean, I know the chief and the SRO, Hanson, did a lot of legwork there and with still no good return by any means, so.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not saying not to try to do it. I'm just saying I don't think we're gonna get the expectation of what we were hoping, you know what I mean, with the turnout and.
I mean,
Was
is
there
it
a-
worth the hassle to put it together for maybe 4 people coming out?
I'm not sure that we would get a lot of bang for our buck in that case, personally. I mean, under those circumstances, I think if it is raining and cold, I don't think we'll even get those 4 people to show up probably.
Right, especially if they can do it at home, right? I mean,
Yeah, then you're just-
how easy is
then
that?
you're just left with the public works.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened
Do it
last
anyways.
time.
Yeah.
Public Works would rather do it on their regular work weeks and not on
Then
Saturday.
it's-
Exactly.
Yeah,
Why would
Saturday.
you wanna do that?
So
I'm
give,
fine.
yeah, given the circumstances, I think it's probably better to table this particular date at least, and we can circle back and decide if we wanna try and.
Yeah, I mean, we could do,
schedule it or
if
what.
we're gonna do like garbage cleanup, we could even do that in the fall. We could do, I mean, that could happen whenever. We
Yeah.
just typically mulch in the spring just to brighten everything up for the summer or whatnot, you know, so. But yeah, we'll get Fireman's Park taken care of before the 7th.
Are we all on board for canceling or postponing Cleveland?
Postponing, delaying.
Let's post-
Yes,
Delay.
Postpone it, we wanna cancel clearance.
Yeah,
We'll figure out a better date.
yeah, we'll get something.
Maybe we
worked out then.
look around the 14th or something,
Mhm.
on one of our off weekends of the concert series. May 14th is an off weekend, we're not having anything that weekend.
Mayor, wasn't there,
I'll wait till they get back to school.
wasn't there multiple
do one
church
now
groups that
and-
were reaching out to us, wanting to help with some stuff? Do you recall that? I don't remember who they were with, but I don't know
Well, it was
if,
the churches.
it was, yeah, I didn't know which
The
one,
south
but,
of town was, and,
Faith Church.
yeah, that
Was
was
it Faith
like
that
last
they-
year, and I
yeah.
think, basically, most of them did. I think most.
because if I remember right, they were looking for like a specific park to
Right,
maintain
something
throughout the
specific to be
year,
able
do
to,
this, you know, I mean,
Because
it
even the
might
day
be,
when we met with the pastors here, they talked about it, something to kind of get involved in the community and help out, but they were looking at like a specific thing as opposed to just, you know.
yeah, general.
Yeah. So that's something we could do too if we pick a date, reach
What
out
do
to
we
the
usually reach
churches.
out to for that? I mean, like, how do we solicit volunteers? And if besides the SRO, the schools?
If you wanna go through the churches, if you pick a day, you just, I'll let the pastors know and they can announce it in their services.
If we're not getting volunteers that way, should we look at a different way to attempt to get help or
Maybe
solicit
we
for
could
help?
try I don't know if there's a way to do like online sign up or something like that.
So that was actually brought to us,
There is through Facebook.
Facebook, yeah,
Currently, not with our site, but we have.
yeah.
oh, there will be in the future, you're saying?
Yeah, there will be on
Yeah.
Facebook with our new Facebook
But
page.
we have no idea now how many are coming out outside of the four from the schools.
Right.
Yeah, I
If
reached
it's
out,
rainy and cold, you're not gonna get anybody.
I reached out to the 4th of July Commission and I wasn't hearing back and maybe because of the weather report.
Well, I mean, you guys got a lot coming up too, so
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
you
This is
wanna keep it
the lead up.
the same well every
Yeah.
single, I mean,
Well, yeah, but
Right.
that's part of our goal is to do the park, so. But, yeah, I think the weather's not helping us right now, so maybe look at a different date.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a huge rush to get it rescheduled like this month or something. So we can look at it, reach out to the, churches, see if they'd like, something they're interested in, and maybe set a more prospective date at that point then. In which case, that concludes my report.
Alright, any old business to come before the board? Any new business to come before the board? Pardon? Yeah, we can do that.
We're done?
Yep.
I'm gonna make a motion to move to executive session to discuss personnel with the village and the police union negotiating teams that have reached a tentative agreement. Discuss that.
And the chief and the labor attorney and mayor are going to stay, please.
Okay, so you made a motion to go in, there's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, that was Tom. Roll call.
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Benatti,
Yes.
Possession.
Yes.